when I'm really fulfilled, why are you being such a doom and gloomer? But yet when I'm getting less sleep, when I'm more funny, when I'm more fun for you and more miserable, we seem to get along better. Why is that, right?
I needed the security of knowing somebody was there more than I wanted the truth. That is pure self sabotage. Wanting the comfort more than wanting the reality. Hey, everybody, it's Bianca.
And it's Emilia.
Welcome to another episode of Evolve Ventures, where we are helping growth minded humans evolve by breaking one limiting belief at a time. We hope you enjoyed the last episode, number 289, Motivation Monday, 3 questions to help you succeed. For today, number 290, why we self sabotage. This is a really, really big topic that I'm really glad has been getting a lot of coverage on different podcasts and other media channels, a lot of like self help programs, because unfortunately, this is a problem that so many of us face. And it's, for lack of a better phrase, it robs us of our happiness, it robs us of our fulfillment and joy and self love. And it really takes away from us getting the things that we actually want. So, what we're going to
Mhm.
be doing today is having a dialogue and a discussion about why is it that we self sabotage? Where does it come from? Why is it that we get to a place where we unconsciously or consciously feel like we have to limit ourselves or betray ourselves? And really helping all of you to feel seen in that you're not alone in this. So many of us go through this. I know I've done this time and time again. It's not easy,
Mhm.
breaking that cycle. So right off the bat, you're not alone. And we really hope that this episode provides you with some validation in that and some hope that you can get out of it.
Yeah. So, what I oftentimes find, and I know you do too, that
Mm.
when we talk about self sabotage, immediately it like ignites a protector within all of us that wants to like go, nope, I don't do this. Not me.
Me?
I'm not the one that's betraying myself. I don't do that, right? Like I always find that in the conversations when it revolves around this dialogue because our identity starts to freak out a little bit, or the part of us, whatever we want to call it, we feel unconsciously attacked when we talk about self
Mhm.
sabotage. And so, cue the defense mechanism. And even when I was reflecting for this episode, I even noticed a part of me that was like, well, I don't really do that. Like negotiating with my own self identification of the fact that because I'm human, there are oftentimes behaviors that kick in, which is self sabotaging. And I had to really observe that within myself and go through what I find a lot of people go through, which is that initial denial phase when you want to actually look in the mirror around self sabotage and what the behaviors are and how that's impacting us. And then work through, okay, well, what's the impact of the self sabotage? How does it show up? What is it in your life? And I think I want to ground this conversation by starting with what self sabotage is so that we all can be very clear and we can have the dialogue that's honest and candid and real on this episode. You game?
I'm smirking because we're on the same wavelength. I was literally just thinking that. So
Yeah.
I love that we're synced in
There we
that.
go.
So how would you personally describe self-sabotage? Like what is your personal definition of it?
My personal definition really comes down to self sabotage is something that happens internally on an
Mhm.
unconscious wavelength. And there's unconscious thoughts that connect to emotions that then connect to behaviors that negatively impact our daily life and
Mhm.
operating in accordance with what we feel pulled to, our long term goals, aspirations, or pull us out of alignment with our own core values and core beliefs.
Do you think it's only unconscious though? Cuz like
Great question. No, no, I don't think it is. But I say that because it's usually starts there and then it starts to snowball, and how it presents itself usually is in the inner dialogues and narratives that we have. What's
okay.
your definition?
I mean, I would just reiterate what you said, but I'll say it a little bit more succinctly. Self sabotage is self abandonment, it's self betrayal.
Yeah, self disrespect.
Yeah. I mean, think about why that protector is coming up and being like, I don't acknowledge this. Think about how
Hmm.
aggressive the terminology is. The experience of self betrayal, of
Yeah.
sabotaging yourself, of course, every part of you is like, "Eh." It doesn't want to acknowledge that because it is
It's easier
so
to deny.
painful. It's
Yeah.
so painful having to acknowledge, oh my God, I'm doing things that's hurting myself.
Yeah.
I'm I'm doing this?
Hmm.
Oh my God, there must be something wrong with me. What is wrong with me? And then that leads into a shame spiral. And then that leads into, further self betrayal and self abandonment, and then further self sabotage. And it ends up just being this really maladaptive cycle that just perpetuates time and time again. But
Hmm.
it's the inability or the honestly just massive discomfort in acknowledging this that perpetuates the cycle. So
Yeah.
I want to be the example, okay? I, Bianca Thomas, have self-sabotaged more times than I can count. I am someone who in the past, yeah, seriously, raising
Raise
my
your
hand, both my hands, raise my feet if I could.
hand.
I am someone who in the past and even to today has
Hmm.
self-sabotaged. And it initially started off out of a sense of self-hatred,
Hmm.
an unconscious self-hatred. It started from a place of having very low self-worth
Hmm.
and doing things and engaging in behaviors that at the time were more comfortable than actually owning my truth in the moment, rather
Hmm.
than actually acknowledging what I was thinking and feeling. So I self sabotaged, I betrayed myself, I did what was easier so that in the moment I could have comfort as opposed to in the long term having challenge or
Hmm.
discomfort or what I actually wanted. And I will give
Facts.
a perfect example. I will give a perfect example. I I've been kind of having a hard time lately talking about my relationship history because honestly, I'm kind of in a place where I'm like, I'm so sick of talking about it. I feel a lot of shame around it. I feel a lot of um, embarrassment and guilt of like, oh, you're a therapist, but you can't get yourself out of your own negative relationships. So I just want to be open and honest about that. And in just expressing that. So I am someone who has had a long history of bad relationships. And every single one of those relationships was me self sabotaging. It's what self sabotage looked like for me. It
Mm.
looks different for everybody, right? And I'm going to give a different example too that might be a little more relevant. But self sabotage for me was entering into these relationships with that gut feeling that this isn't right
Mm.
and ignoring it because I wanted companionship more than I wanted to acknowledge the truth and
Yeah.
have to be alone. For me, that was self sabotage
Mhm.
because I wasn't actually letting myself get what I really wanted and needed, because having the comfort of security right now, of at least having somebody there, was better than having to acknowledge this person is not right.
Yeah.
This is not the right relationship for me.
Mhm.
And self sabotage happened when I would consistently have these thoughts pop up of, what are you doing? This isn't right. This doesn't feel okay. And
Mm.
ignoring those thoughts and pushing them away and pushing away people who were saying the same thing,
Mm.
because I needed the security of knowing somebody was there more than I wanted the truth. That is pure self sabotage
Mm.
in its like truest form. Wanting the comfort more than wanting the reality.
Mm. Yeah. Comfort over reality. I'll just let that trickle in for all of us, honestly, because that's usually what I find too, that the crux of a lot of people's experience ends up being is you want the comfort more than the reality. And that's where a lot of it's like right at that crux is where you then choose the self-sabotaging behaviors because that provides that instant relief, that comfort, that whatever it is opposed to the growth, opposed to the reality, opposed to the change, opposed to you evolving. And it's a lot easier to know the thing, which is comfort, which is whatever it is, than to not know and feel like you don't have full control over an alternative outcome, which is the growth, which is the reality, which is the discomfort.
Yeah. A big thing that a lot of people do, because I guarantee a lot of people are going to be like, this isn't comfortable for me. I'm self sabotaging in these arenas that are really hurtful.
Mhm.
A lot of us self sabotage to keep things familiar. So let's say you're unconsciously self sabotaging a job, you're unconsciously self sabotaging a relationship, you're unconsciously self sabotaging with your finances.
Mhm.
It's not because doing that is comfortable, it's because engaging in this new thing is going to either challenge your core belief, which you
Mhm.
have a sense of comfort in, even if it's painful, or
Mhm.
it's going to challenge you to have to make new decisions and choices, which is uncomfortable. Most of us, you and I have talked about this so many times. Our clients will stay stuck in really harmful behaviors because it's safe. The
Yeah.
devil you know is better than the devil that you don't.
Facts.
So it's easier to stay in the same types of situations, to do the same types of things, to have the same types of experiences, even though they're painful, because at least it's familiar pain. It's
Mhm.
pain you know. It's pain that you've already learned how to work through. That's why a lot of people, like, okay, again, I'm going to be a little vulnerable here. And in no way is this me bad mouthing. This is just the honest truth. My ex self sabotaged in our previous relationship because actually being in a healthy, safe, loving relationship was way too much for her to handle. So she pulled away.
Mhm.
How many of us have done that?
Mhm.
How many of us have run away from something because it was so scary, because it required us to have to become more of ourselves? It required us to have to do more, feel more, express more, become more, whatever. And that was so terrifying that it's easier to pull away. And so we did. That's self
Mhm.
sabotage, because
Yeah.
the familiar pain is so much easier in that moment than the unfamiliar challenge of having to engage in this new experience.
Yeah.
When you're on a journey of self discovery or self rediscovery, it's very important to have a support system in place. And that's where a group like Evolve comes in with their acceptance and advice and different people from different walks of life who can offer different perspectives for you to help you find your self worth and aid in your journey of wellness. It's important and essential.
That I say to my clients, the familiar pain is more ingrained. And when you can recognize that, you realize that what isn't as much ingrained is the growth, is your evolution, is that discomfort that is going to get you ultimately what you want. But because the familiar pain is more ingrained, we know that there's more effort involved in that which is unfamiliar. And I'll give a great example, which hopefully this will help to fill in the other end of the spectrum. And I want to share this because I have a lot of clients that are in more of this bucket. But I want to lead by example. So B, you have been very privy to my evolution when it comes to my sleep and my evolution in terms of how much I've prioritized brain health, even in the last, 3 to 5 years of you and I knowing each other. And it has been really humbling for me to understand that the lack of sleep and self sabotaging behavior so that I don't get great sleep has been out of a place of self preservation, meaning preserving who I am just enough to make sure that it didn't make other people uncomfortable. So, behaviors like that would look like allow the anxious thoughts to just accumulate so that I wouldn't get good sleep. Because why? Well, when I didn't get great sleep, what I found the correlation for me was when I didn't get more sleep, I was way more relatable to people. I intimidated people less because I was tired, I was groggy, I had misery, I had all of that um just not I was less of who I actually am when I get great sleep. So I was funnier. I could have a lot more fun because I had a lot less to lose, and I found that a lot of my social circles loved the fun, the funny, the giving less shits for lack of better words, the miserable and the more relatable version of Emmy or Emilia made them way more comfortable because the full 8 hours to 9 hours great sleep that Emilia would get would actually make me who I really, really am. Which, yes, your girl loves to have fun, but she loves growth more. Yes,
Yeah.
your girl is funny, but she's serious more. She takes life very seriously. Yes, I'm relatable, but I'm a lot less when I am on operating on all cylinders because my light shines bright and I have a constant state of wanting to just grow and be a bright light and all that stuff. And that made my social circles extremely uncomfortable. And I have a lot of clients that are actually on this end. And so I know that there are some listeners that are on this end of you are self sabotaging because it makes other people around you feel more comfortable. You
So
are
many
not the
of us do that,
Yeah,
So
you're not the bright light because it makes everyone else become a crab in your bucket. And the fear underneath that be is ironically very similar to the fear and the narrative that you have and that you've experienced, which is, well, what if I lose love? Will I be alone? Am I still going to be lovable? Am I still going to be enough? Am I still going to be worthy for the love of my tribe? And we, this spectrum, wherever people, listeners fall on this, it makes those self sabotaging behaviors seem a lot better, again, than the pain that we don't know yet how to work through. And for me, it was always the conflict of, why are you kind of dimming my light, bro? Why aren't you really kind and loving to me while I'm this bright light? Why are you snipping at me? Why are you XYZ? You're a different
yeah.
person when I'm really fulfilled. Why are you being such a doom and gloomer? But yet when I'm getting less sleep, when I'm more funny, when I'm more fun for you and more miserable, we seem to get along better. Why is that, right? So, wherever you fall on this spectrum, I do think it's really, really important for our listeners to really recognize, like, oh, that might be why. Because not knowing why is what's going to continue these things, these self-sabotaging behaviors.
I did the exact same thing. You dimmed yourself with sleep. I dimmed myself with my entire personality, whether it was friendships, relationships, whatever the case may be. I always overextended myself. So
Mm,
let me give to you, do everything for you, and I want for nothing. I'm not going to dress the way that I typically do because I know that we don't match. I'm going to not take care of my fitness because I know that that's extremely important to me and you don't take it as seriously as I do.
mm,
I just, in every way possible, I made myself less than.
yeah.
I self sabotaged because of my narrative that I'm going to be too much or I'm not going to be loved. And so let me do whatever I believe is going to be in the best interest of this situation for this person not to leave. Because my primary fear was being abandoned. My
Mm,
primary fear was being alone, to what you said, and being unlovable. Even even think about this podcast, right? The not in the very beginning, but like when I again, bad relationships. I feel like a broken record.
mm,
In that time period when I was in that relationship, look at how I dressed in the episodes and the way that I presented myself compared to now.
mhm,
I'm insecure about it. I'm insecure about the fact that, like, when I was growing up, our family, like me, my siblings, my parents,
mhm,
everybody knew us as like the family with the best fashion.
mhm,
And growing up I resented it, but I really appreciate it now. Like I have a pretty good sense of style. And I'm see even right now I want to self-sabotage and not say this out loud. I am a very attractive woman. I'm
mhm,
cringing saying that out loud, but it is true. And combining those two things, a lot of people avoid me like the plague when they see me. So
mhm.
Emilia and I went to an event last week and I walked into the room and I could sense everybody's discomfort. People looked and then they had to look away.
Mm,
I knew that was going to happen when I got there, and I wanted to dim myself and dress down and not dress and look how I usually would going to an event like that because I'm so uncomfortable with number one, how I look, and number two, with the feeling of being rejected.
mhm,
So it would have been easier for me to shrink and dim than it would have been to be fully expressed. And so previously, I did do that. I didn't take care of myself. Amelia's smirking because she knows if you look back at some of the videos, oh my God, I looked horrible.
well, it
And
was
not
I was
here.
smiling when you had the
Oh,
bandana headbands on and
oh,
looking that contrast to now.
oh my God, I'm gonna throw up.
Be
It's
kind to yourself,
it's a
be.
no, no, no. It's not it's not because of that. It's not because of being unkind. It's because of how unkind I was being to myself at that point.
Right. Yeah.
I was
Exactly.
betraying myself oh my God, just so bad. So bad. Because I wanted that person's love more than anything else because I knew I wouldn't get it for being who I actually was.
Yeah.
I had to dim in order to get love. And that still plagues me so bad. And I'm fighting like crazy to stop dimming myself and stop betraying myself and stop self sabotaging in order to get love and acceptance from other people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being really vulnerable in this episode because it's so easy for people to see women who look like you and I and be like, what problems do you have? Oh,
True.
you have, oh, you're pretty. Oh, that's a problem. Like, people see stuff like that and it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to believe that we could have the same experiences as other people. And
Yeah.
something that I've really been trying to pride myself on and something I've really been trying to do is be really honest about what the reality behind the scenes looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a part of that. So, yes, I still self sabotage. Yes, I have had so many experiences in my past where I have drastically betrayed myself because I wanted to be accepted, because I wanted to be loved, because I wanted just so badly for somebody to want me.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost destroyed my life because of it. And I'm recognizing it today and I'm taking the steps. And that's the part that matters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, self sabotaging behavior, it does serve a purpose, right? We all have a reason for why we do what we do. And we believe it's going to get us something. But the thing that self sabotaging behavior gets us is the much less version of the thing we actually want.
Mm. Yeah.
And so when you give yourself the permission to acknowledge what it is that you actually want and work through the limiting beliefs and the fear and the pains and the narratives about your ability to get it, that's when you'll stop doing these behaviors. And
Yeah.
I'm still in the process of trying to do it. So I'm not saying this from like I've completely done it and I'm like, whatever place. This is coming from I'm still on the journey.
Right. Well, I think all of our listeners, no matter when in their life they plug into this episode, as evolvers, you recognize that you're always evolving. So, because self sabotage typically comes from underlying psychological factors, like, for example, like um, self esteem, or for me, like a fear of success or a fear of not being loved or unresolved emotional issues that we
Yeah.
have, we recognize that maybe right now you might have these self-sabotaging behaviors in this arena, but that doesn't mean they're not going to crop up in a different arena when you become a mom or when you become a dad or when you finally get that career that you've been striving for or when you finally lose those 10 pounds you've been trying to lose for 20 years of your life, or when you actually I don't know, get a pet, when there's so many different life moments that you'll have where it puts you in a different life chapter. And these experiences that we have around the self-sabotaging, the narratives, just because you might have, whack-a-mole them today doesn't mean that they're not going to crop up tomorrow or in 4 years from now when you think you're quote unquote done in this evolutionary process. And I think that there's a fear that comes with that. But if I could help rewire our thinking around that, of the fact that this is a long-term game and
Mm,
it's one that you can get better at over time. And the more you are willing to lean into those repetitions, like you said, I'm in it right now, instead of opting out, the better you will get over time. And that's something that I know you can attest to. I know I can attest to that. When I can recognize those narratives cropping up, whether it be in sleep or whether it be in, the dressing. I remember a conversation that I had had with Alan around like no bras at the gym, and a past conversation with a partner where that was like, oh God, it like might as well put me to this tie me up on a stake and burn me, right? Like, but now it's a whole different experience because I have the courage, just like you're having the courage, to acknowledge what's underneath this and dig and be curious and be kind and compassionate to yourself in the process, in the journey. And I think that anyone that's had or experienced self-sabotaging behaviors, hopefully this episode has, number one, help become more aware of what those might be, or what your journey is and what they actually look like and feel like, what the outcome of that is, and help you dip your toe into a more, I would say, empowering process of embracing the skill that's required to become better and better at recognizing when this is happening and where these are cropping up, so that you can overcome these behaviors, you can overcome the tendency, and you can start to become a better version of yourself, right? Breaking those limiting beliefs, etc. So I love this dialogue. I think that there's, like you said at the very beginning, I'm glad that there's more coverage around this, because I think that a lot of people identify after they get over the protectors of like, no, I never do this. And if we were to actually really dream around what is the most expressed, most fulfilled, most aligned version of ourselves, and recognize that it just takes some of these skills applied to be able to get there and to be able to achieve and embody that, I really feel like it would be a much better world that we all lived in on the day to day, on the regular, so
I concur. Right.
yeah, good stuff.
Episode suggestion.
My episode suggestion is 257, Motivation Monday, Why We Struggle to Change. I've actually been talking about change and the change cycle, the readiness course, so many people. So I'm glad that we connected that in here. What about you?
252, are you tuning into your inner dialogue? If learning to break this self-sabotaging cycle is something that you're ready to do, we have so many programs here at Evolve that can help you. And one of them is the You Do You program. If you're not fully ready to maybe face the hard mirrors and do a lot more of the in-depth work, the You Do You program is a really great opportunity for you to dip your toe in and get a little bit of exposure into what that might look like. So it's a lot more self-guided, it's more self-paced. There's really nothing required of you aside from reaching out if and when you need and if and when you're ready. We've had a lot of people sign up for it already, and they've all had just amazing things to say about it. Especially that fact that, like, I didn't feel pressured at all. It felt like I could
Yeah.
just come to you when I needed. So
Mm-hmm.
if that's something that you feel sounds right for you, the link is in the description. The link is in the show notes to get some more information on it. So we look forward to seeing you. We look forward to hearing from you and helping you in your evolving journey. And we will see you next time. Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.